No one. Hi, guys. Just checking on stuff. Sometimes I look a little shorter than I am. Not that much, but and yeah, I always fidget when I'm up here. Nothing seems to stay unskewed. I don't know why that is, but it does seem to be that way. So, again, I'm going to be here for entertainment purposes as we've already started that part of the show. So, it's going on the little thingies. In any event, um, I tried to check out some of the news, and this is going to be a problem. I don't know why it's this way. Again, it seems like it's still Monday. Hold on a sec. I know you can still hear me. I can't hear you guys as well if I don't have these silly things on. Always makes my hair look better. So today, I've got a little Irish coffee this morning. I'm on a little earlier than I thought I would be, truthfully. We have terrible weather here, although not so bad as it is everywhere else. It's cold, it's wet, it's windy. Pretty much not a great day. Um, we had some errands to run, and we're putting those out until tomorrow. It's supposed to be a better day tomorrow. I don't know. They're not sure. So let's just say bozo told the weather just as good as they do. In any event, off we go. Of course, everybody out there knows by now that this is for entertainment purposes only. If you do like the content, or if you don't like the content, anything is helpful. Mm, I love it when it's hot still. In this house, I've never been able to find a cup of coffee, chocolate, anything hot that would stay that way over 30 seconds. No, in my hand to God. I was just, I didn't have coffee for the last 2 days. This is Pixie. Yes, I've become the corner cat lady for sure now. You better get on down. You better go on over to your bed. Don't come back right here this way again. Don't you squint those. She is such a character. You gonna go down? Huh? No, you can't stay there. Hey, she's scared for you. 1 minute she will go to her bed, which is directly behind this camera. And the next minute she will run back around the bar, through the kitchen door, and off that way because she knows I don't like it. She's a very intuitive cat. Pixie. Yeah, now she's trying to knock everything off on the counters that she can find that's loose. Never had a cat like this guy. No, none of the cats have ever made me angry. Yes, she's throwing down silverware. Oh, God. She's throwing down the silverware she found that I used to make my coffee this morning. Anybody that knows me, and for those of you who don't, or even don't want to, I have employed French vanilla in my coffee for at least over a decade. And I don't like just any old French vanilla. I like the carnation. The other stuff just I don't know what it is. It's too sweet. It's not right. And I like French vanilla coffee brewed at the CVS's, gas stations, whatever, what have you, truck stops. And then I take a baggie of those little cups to pour in on top of it. I like the French vanilla. And so this morning I wanted the coffee to try to stay hot a little bit longer. So I said, okay, now I have the powder as a backup to either when my store doesn't have it or I've run out or both. So I went to the powder today, so we'll see how that works out for me. I have a half a gallon in the fridge. It's going to go cold anyway. I can buy one of those, a gallon of milk, some hamburger, and maybe some bread if it's on sale. Got $100. It's just stupid. Going to forgive loans. They're going to give billions to this country and get again and again and again. Yeah, I love that. They're still funding who, which the former president got rid of. Yeah, I did touch base on the Fannie Willis case, the DA out of Fulton County, also known as, yep, Atlanta. And the judge did not recuse himself. She did not get one bit better. She was still a privileged little Karen up there. Yes, I think they actually worship her as a goddess. I'm not sure. I haven't caught but a few minutes, but it's kind of what it looks like. The judge for sure worships her, or she's got really good stuff on him. I mean, it's got to be good. Uh-uh. He saw the trial out, didn't recuse, and now that the final arguments have been placed in, and I give the representatives that were representing the former President Trump, because they got slammed. I mean, if they tried to open their mouth, if they tried to do a cross, the judge was asked and answered. They didn't even ask the question a second time. But apparently the judge could read minds and shut him down and sit down. Did the same thing with the witness that was on the stand. Tell him shut up. If they got a question for him, they'll ask him. Then he can talk about an answer. Yeah, I mean, you just can't make this stuff up. For those of you who've been watching it closely, you know what I mean. I try to get the highlights for it. One of my podcasters I found this new. And they will drop a few videos, like a small small stretch of part of that political scene that they're talking about, which right now is the former DA, or right now the current DA of Fulton County, and the ex boyfriend she paid nearly $1 million to. He promptly divorced his wife, who apparently didn't have no idea the man made nearly $1 million. Even in Chicago, I still think she gets some of that money. It's all over the airwaves. He got all that money. Yeah, she didn't see that. She didn't know he had that, i.e., the divorce. So I mean, it's so muddy and so dirty and so evil that I have restricted myself. If I'm going to look in, to no more than 5 hours, because I'm throwing a shoe at the TV by then. It's just so corrupt. And I was born and raised in Chicago, and I remember a lot of conversations from my father. He constantly said, I mean, my daddy used to run moonshine. That's how old they were. Just saying, they ran moonshine. Um, and the other thing was going to visit his parents. They didn't have indoor plumbing. They didn't have indoor electricity. So everything was, the well outside. The accommodations for bath was outside. If you wanted a bath in the 2 weeks that you were there, they would give you a bar of handmade lye soap. Have you ever had lye soap? Don't go there. It's just not a great experience. And then you could put in so much water. You had to go out to the well and get it. And we were like 2.9 feet tall. So you had to stand on stuff so you'd hope you didn't fall in. And get water and fill up the tub a little bit. And then get some more water and heat all that up and keep throwing that in the hopes that it wouldn't go cold while you were heating up more water. It was always fun taking a bath. I loved that. It's a whole Saturday thing. My dad's cousin was the same way, although we always called him Uncle Raymond. I don't know why. He had bought, once my adopted father's uh, mother and father passed away, they had all this land. I always said they were dirt farmers because there's just some dirt out there. I just wasn't being mean. They were dirt farmers, but nothing growing. Not even a tree. I never even saw a tumbleweed. But Uncle Raymond's house was the same way. No running water. They did put a hose to something. You could get the dishes done inside that way, but usually they would just go to the well, fill the buckets. And I mean buckets, there were 5 or 6. I don't know how they carried all that, but I guess both of them, because they named her Wonder Ann because they'd had her so late in life. I think they were actually late 40s, maybe early 50s. So they named her Wonder Ann, and my name is Wanda, and so it was Wonder and Wanda, and then it kind of got stuck with. They would say my name along with my middle name. And then I'll quit when I went active duty. And in boot camp, they named me Wicked, which is another story entirely. It's a Chicago thing, no record. So, yeah. It's stuck. I still have that as my email. This morning, as I've said, it's been yuckville out there. It's just, when he thinks he's got 10 minutes, he's going to go grab that shell or shell of a greenhouse down. It's raining. It's cold. When it's not, he's off doing something because somebody called and said, "Can you help out? My friend is going to get charged X amount of thousands," when they know MacGyver there can do it for 150, basically. So he's busy through the week. Even though he's not working, but he is. He's not like me. I have a house to do. And since we adopted the cats, both inside and out, you might as well say, we've just opened up a sanctuary for animals. We have fed dogs as well, but the cats stay. This does not help because I had the Karen on the corner asking me questions about it. Thought that she had gotten by with, I would recognize her. No, she's still that same fat ass that's walking around the block trying to get rid of. It ain't gone nowhere yet. 3 years that I know of. No, she might as well give up that duck. It ain't going well. Buy bigger clothes and get over it. And she wears those. I don't know. I've gotten larger, so I got a bigger size. I didn't squeeze into the same size I was in. I don't like tight clothing because at my age, again, I gained weight. So Robert always he gets my clothes anyway. So whatever he's picked out is perfect. It's not too tight. It's not too loose. So I'm still relying on him to grab my clothes because they still have the worst taste ever. Let's see, we went through the Fannie Willis trial. She left before an actual verdict was read, and there was no verdict read. I did love the closing arguments on Donald Trump's team. It was really good. I mean, it was really good. And to make a long story short, too late, uh, they actually decided the judge. He's not in her spot nowhere. No, no, he's completely partial to her. He's not impartial about shit. He's going to come back in 2 weeks and give him a verdict. It's good to be the king. I don't know how many this surprised. Um, I grew up in Chicago, so nothing surprised me about this. If you want, and I'm sure I'll probably be in trouble, but I've never seen in my entire life, and we'll just put in I'm a little older than most of y'all, but I ain't never ever seen Chicago not be corrupt in its political machinations. Chicago has always been corrupt. You know, Al Capone, they couldn't catch him right. They got him for Texas. Well, where'd they send that boy? For Texas. Wasn't it Alcatraz? Yes, so it was Alcatraz. They loved him. This guy had furniture in his. You know what they did with Al Capone's car? Anybody? They gave it to Franklin Roosevelt. He was still president. He didn't die until later on when that's when Truman stepped in. He didn't have a bulletproof car. But today's politicians, yeah, they got planes. They don't need cars. They call Uber. They get the security team to take them. Again, this is when the heck are we going to stand up and say, we're not paying for that shit no more? Uh, you know, when are we going to hold them accountable? They had to have Trump's taxes. I didn't see Nancy Pelosi's taxes. No, 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 no. Haven't heard anything about what is on Hunter Biden's laptop, but they are finally getting him in. I don't know if it's court still or if it's finally the Senate hearings. Can't figure out why there's Senate hearings when they kept trying to impeach Trump through his entire presidency. Then they tried afterward. Actually, they're still trying afterwards. They're trying to make sure he can't run. In every state he's been in, he's taken it hands down. I mean, like 80%. There's not even a question. And I don't care if you're people of color. I got news for all y'all. All of us bleed red. We're all people of color. I don't blooming care which can of crayon you use. You can use a purple one. We're all the same folk. These guys over here, they're not from Alpha Centauri. They're from Alabama. These guys over here, they're not from the Pleiades. They're from Florida. But that doesn't mean that Chicago, I'm sorry to say, is any less corrupted than it have ever been. It's always been corrupt in my lifetime that I know of for fact. For fact. It's so corrupt. Now you got a DA who's got her paws up in there. Now she can pay one attorney that she supposedly hired, who at the time was not her boyfriend. I don't know when he became her boyfriend. Maybe after the nearly $1 million bail. I don't know. I'll be your boyfriend. Give me $1 million. In any event, this was supposed to have been after she had accepted the case because of the improper way. Donald Trump wanted extra votes from the city or state of Atlanta. The city of Chicago, I'm not sure how, got the case. And this is how DA Fannie, hopefully former DA Fannie, steps into the picture. But I don't see this judge doing that. I really don't. The defense lawyers, when they were wrapping up, they were just mad as wet hens. I'm telling you what. Oh, my. You could see their clothes drying. They were so wet. They were so mad. Steam was coming out their clothes. And they cited, law after law after law after law that these, in particular, two people had broken. One of which is paying the boyfriend nearly $1 million. That's the big one. One of the biggest ones anyway. They were both perjured. So I see one of my connections is a little loose. So that's been fun. We won't find anything out for 2 weeks. I don't know why. It's not a jury, and it should be before a jury. Because this would have been wrapped up some time ago. The judge should never have been on there, let alone stayed on there. He stayed through the complete thing, and that was today. And I checked it for a few minutes and said, oh, God, I got to go. Because when you see corruption like this, in your face corruption, this isn't just treasonous, people. $1 million was stolen from grant funds alone to pay her boyfriend. Now, we don't know how much she stole from these grants to go to the Bahamas, and cruises. I'm so glad I sent my taxes this year because, once this is all blown over, she'll probably want to go back on another cruise, Yeah. I pray for the IDF. I pray for Gaza. I pray for all of them. This time they're saying that the IDF opened fire on a mob that was coming to the trucks to get food. This is the second time. Only this time they say that the IDF were the ones firing. I don't know. There were thousands running to them. They're starving to death. This is ridiculous. If nothing else, why can't Egypt just open the truck doors, get some guys out there, and start throwing this food to them? You're not going to let them in the country. Give them the food. Give them the water, the baby formula. I don't know what is, I want to know where the rest of the Arabic countries are. Why isn't Turkey stepping up? Syria, Iran, Iraq. You armed them. Now 3/4 of them are dead or displaced. You don't want nothing to do with that? Come on. Really. I don't care whether you're a Muslim. I don't care whether you're a Christian. I don't care whether you're Catholic or you're Jewish. You've all pretty much got the same organized religion, and even it's got rules. Okay? And if that's not good enough for you, use the Geneva Convention. It's got rules. And where the hell is the UN and NATO on this? Besides taking Israel to court for crimes against humanity. Stupidest shit I've ever seen. Completely gobsmacks me out how this country and others are being run right now. It is not for we the people anywhere. And they can call themselves a democracy or republic or whatever the heck they want to. They're not. They're not. When you can take your judicial system and tank that bitch right into the toilet live, and I'm talking live, and it's okay. It's probably not going to go well. It's not going to go on the justice side. It's going to be this guy over here playing God. And he's going to say this and this. The same with the New York courts. You find a businessman $400 million accrued at almost $90,000 a day till it's paid while you're working on seizing his assets. For what? You didn't find him guilty of anything that I saw. I didn't see any guilty verdict. This was all to get money. I mean, there's no other. I mean, that's what it's for. It's to get money. And then saying you cannot do business for 3 years in our state or our city, New York, and your sons can't either for 2 years. Now, I don't know about y'all, but what the hell were the sons doing? They didn't have them up on the witness stand. They didn't have any papers served to them. Nothing. Just we're going to tell you you can't do business here. Okay, that's justice for somebody. Anybody who knows justice, I'm going to have to go with hell no. There's no justice. And I'm talking from a point of distraction here. You can see my cats have knocked stuff down. There they go across the blankets I spread for them at night because I didn't pick them up this morning because I got a little hot under the collar about the stupid stuff in Chicago. I'm like, what next, Locust? I keep saying that because everything else seems to be happening. Dubai is just a river. Mecca was hit so hard it damaged the cube. Massive blizzards and things in areas where they've never experienced, but maybe a dusting of snow. Same with the tornadoes. They're in places people have never seen them. I don't know about you guys. I kind of took that biblical. Pick a Bible, any Bible. If you know there's more than one, and trust me, there are more than one. They've been written and co-written and written and translated and written again and stories ripped out by emperors and rewritten and written again. And people don't realize the King James Bible. I always call it the King James Bible. It's so cute. Anybody know what that means? Anybody? I do. It means King James the Fifth of both England and Scotland, Mary of Scots, only child, the one that Elizabeth I beheaded because they thought she was a threat to the throne. Well, her son took the throne, and he was king of both England and Scotland. So poor Mary died for no reason. In any event, that's who the King James Bible is. That's who put it together. King James the Fifth of Scotland, 1500s, not even early 1600s by the time he passed. Isn't that interesting? So we have kings and more kings that put these together. Huh, I thought it might have been the Pope. No, not hear much about that. There's the Nag Hammadi scrolls. There's the Dead Sea Scrolls. There's the Quran. There's the Geneva Bible. There's the Mormon Bible. Unfortunately, for me anyway, I had to go. I went to several different denominations of churches as I grew up and as I got older. Baptist, Pentecost, Jehovah's Witness, just to see. It's one of the biggest scams on the planet. And I'm talking the biggest scams on the planet. The first Pope Francis died in only 32 days in office because he wanted the Bank of the Vatican, or as you might know, the Bank of Italy, and I told you a story about another one yesterday, was corrupt. And it was laundering money from the gangsters. Pope died. Fastest Pope to die in office yet. So they got to be left alone. Yeah. Yeah, I thought that was interesting too. Yeah, like the pharmaceutical company that kept asking the Germans for more women prisoners. It was women prisoners in health. They had to be in good health and clean. 150. You got another pro. Well, we're getting it. It went really great, wonderfully. Unfortunately, the test subjects did not make it. Can you send another 150? They did. At what point they sent more or less. I'm not sure, but they did send 300 women to their deaths. And that company is now called Bear. Bank of America got its start in San Francisco after the fire. Every other bank had gone to the ground in fire, so they couldn't get their safes open because they were too hot. There was one guy who went and got as many wagons as he could, and he put all of his money on there, covered it up with vegetables, and out the way. When the fires were under control, he came back, he set up a little stand, started loaning people money. He was the Bank of Italy at the time. Want to guess who it is now? Anyway, I do. It's called the Bank of America. Bank of America now was the Bank of Italy until that fire. There's a whole lot out here that we're not taught by any educator, college, high school, none of them. And if you're not real sure where to look for it until this medium became available, you weren't likely to find out because you had to know what question to ask to look it up. So now it's in your face, people. It's like being bombarded with terrible things. How bad the country is. Now, yeah, granted, it was the 80s when I was up in DC, but I worked right at the top. I mean, I could go to the Senate anytime I wanted to. I had the credentials and had the clearance. I could go anywhere I wanted. Didn't like the White House. The vibe was just so I didn't like going in there. Could have, but I couldn't have busted into the Oval Office or anything stupid. Basically, you have to set up an appointment to do whatever it was you wanted to do, and I always got my mother-in-law to do those. She used to say, "What fair?" It was. She was the old. She was my boss. So I knew a lot of the senators, knew a lot of the Congress people. Weren't too many women who were Congress women. I'm trying to remember if I knew any. In fact, I can't recall knowing any of the females on either branch. To this day, I don't really think I could tell you if there were any. Um, I would go to the Watergate, me and my mother in law, we'd go to the Watergate. I have what we now call liquid lunch, although we did be scarfed out as something. But we technically, especially my mother in law, was like that 5 martini lady at lunch, poor value. Who could blame her? DC was that bad then. I don't know. Just little things like that. They did not teach me. And I really did have a great education. When I look at the other educational systems in other states, I got to give Chicago that. They did have, I don't know if they do now still have, but they had great systems for schools, for public schools back then. A lot that you could take, home ec, artwork, music, dancing. I mean, they had it all. They really did. They had a very diverse set. Now they called those electives. You had to get your primary in too, but that was it was just too easy for me. I got it all real quick. So yeah, I mean, I did have, but at the same time, I didn't have. When I find out things like that, does anybody know what Arlington was prior to becoming the cemetery for the fallen of America, the fallen soldiers? Anybody? Show hands. I do. It was Robert E. Lee's plantation. Arlington was. People seem to forget that those people that fought on the southern side, as well as many on the northern side, but mainly on the southern side, they loved their country. Their families had supported it during the war against England and thereafter, including the Second War. You got it, against England. There's some history here that I'm telling you. I never heard nobody, and it wasn't in my books because I'd read them 4 or 5 times just for fun. And I never ran across it in any book until now. That Arlington was a Robert E. Lee's plantation. So the North really has some questionable devices, not to mention getting rid of Abraham Lincoln. And I've got a feeling John Wilkes Booth was, of course, not acting alone. And I don't think he was actually working for the Confederacy as much as he was the federal government. That's just my opinion. I can't say that for sure. Is they had the Knights of the Golden Circle on the southern side. Excuse me. I don't know what the hell they had on the northern side besides more ammo. The south was the breadbasket, and the north was the industrialized center. So they had them hands down. You can't really fight somebody off with the ear of corn. I mean, it's just not going to happen. And once they cut them and their supplies, there wasn't much anybody could do past that. And they were going down. And we all know he burned his way through Atlanta. Now I live here in Augusta, and it too lost several generals from here, and I've seen their graves. And they expected them to come. They fortified, in particular, one of the areas that still stands is the chimney for the gunpowder works. Huge, tall chimney, but the rest of it has been taken down. I don't know why. It was the factory that made gunpowder and bullets and all that. So that was here in Savannah. So they thought, Augusta, they figured that once they hit Atlanta and they came down and they were going to go through Augusta and then on down in Savannah and all the others. So if you look at the map, if he'd have come that way, he wouldn't have been too far from D.C. as the crow flies. Mind you, they had horses, but those little puppies went pretty fast. So, but a lot of people forget that these guys were West Pointers. They knew each other. Some of them graduated in the same class from West Point. They keep saying, it may have become this, but it was about slavery and stopping slavery. Well, we didn't have to go to a civil war to do that. And the slaves were fighting on the side of the Confederates as well as the side of the Northerners because both had them. Not slaves in the North, per se. I consider 9 to 5 with a very small wage and all the taxes out of slave. I did that, been there. They still didn't give me my money back. So, and these guys did not want to go to war. They did not want to. I know, if I'm not mistaken, it was Sumter who set off the first volley, but they fell to the north. But they're not teaching the truth about it. They're not teaching the truth. I can't remember what it was. I think it was Charleston that they encircled until people were eating shoe leather. Nothing in, nothing out. There was no quarter given pretty much then either. So, we're in and they're out, or you can keep starving to death. It doesn't seem to be any different from today's situation, does it? They're going after individual people. Don't you think they had snipers in the Civil War? Oh, you bet your bippies. Anybody know when the Gatling gun came out? I know. Yep, that'd be the Civil War. Once that ended, they had to go find somebody else to kill. And they did a damn good job of it. Native Americans. Blankets with smallpox when they didn't have enough bullets. Shoot down all the buffalo and put stinking stands of them up 20, 30 feet high because that's how they ate and made their things and their clothes. Take their kids, cut their hair, don't let them cut them, speak their language, cut that all out. Make them American. They did. Is that in your books? Did you see anything on the Trail of Tears where they marched the Creeks and the Cherokees from right here to where? Oklahoma in the winter. And these were people from the South. That's why it's called the Trail of Tears. Many died. Probably, I think they said on the order of maybe about 1 per mile. It's just sick. But they have the audacity to stand up and go to the Israeli people. Well, you're going to have to stop this now. We're getting some feedback from some of the civilians in the crossfire. They're not in the crossfire of the IDF. They're in the crossfire of Hamas. Hamas is scared stupid. They've already said they're going to hunt every one of them down. Do you see any ISIS anywhere? No. Why not? because they were hunted down till they were all exterminated. Nobody else wanted to do that. They might have gone on and joined Hamas, Houthis, Hezbollah, who knows? But they knew more ISIS. And this is exactly what the Israelis are trying to explain to everybody. We can't let them do this no more. We can't do it. It's not just our generation. It's not just the generation beneath us and the generation below and below that. They're already here. Many people of the older people were Holocaust survivors and had at least great grandchildren. A few they didn't kill. As far as I'm concerned, it's got to be a pretty bad thing when the Israelis don't show you, and they will tell you that. They don't show you because they don't think that you can handle it and still be a human being. These things are so evil what they did. And I've heard some horror stories that literally curled my hair. Horrific stories. This isn't happening by the idea, by the way, people. Now, they can call themselves Hamas all they want. They were Palestinians. They were Palestinians. And then they're in negotiations that they want a 6-week ceasefire. They want all of their prisoners back, and then they will go ahead and give them the 100 prisoners they have. So you give us 20,000, we'll give you 100. What can Israel do? Last time there was a trade on it, they got one soldier for 1,000 of the prisoners. Guess who was one of those prisoners? Sadat. That's who they're chasing through the tunnels now. He was wanted, and he was in prison. They had to let him go to get that one boy's life back. And how many people has this guy killed? Well, if we count the 600 soldiers the IDF that fell, they're walking 2,500, which is lower than they say on the Gaza side, but I'm one of those show me states. This is why those guys were running around in feminine dress. You know, the little burkas, you can see their eyes. The real voluminous. You had to bridge you there and just walk along right past them because they're not going to shoot a woman. And they know that. So they put those tunnels in hospitals, in schools, in homes. Yes. And they're finding, it has astonished me, I gotta say, to no end, that these things are not, they're well constructed. They've air conditioning, they've got lighting, they've got kitchens, they've got caches of arms, but the comforts of home where they could sleep, bathrooms, all that in these tunnels. And the IDF didn't catch on to this for a second because some of them actually go under and into Jerusalem or other areas. It's like, oh my God. Some of them were all the way into Egypt. They weren't going down without a fight. I'll give them that. No, they were going to take a whole bunch more with them. Then we have something that's called LiDAR. So you can ride that right over the top of it. You can see every tunnel in it. I don't know why they didn't do that at the beginning. I'm just saying it would have been a lot faster. When Israel came out and they said, we will not surrender. It is war. And this war will only stop when all of the Palestinians hand over Hamas or Hamas himself surrenders, or we will continue to do this. And they gave them 3 weeks just to get out of the first city. They didn't listen. No, they listened. But they couldn't get out because Hamas wouldn't let them. I don't believe for a minute that they elected Hamas to run their country either. Hamas just said, vote this way or shoot your kid in the head. What you gonna do? I have such a sore throat. Well, scratchy throat. And those particular things make me angry because I can't find a way that Mossad did not know some of this was there, at least some of it. You had 3 of them hit another car and block it off in rush hour traffic and get out. Automatic weapons start shooting people. 33 were shot, I think. Anyway, I was surprised there wasn't more damage and more lives. And this was just 100 feet from the checkpoint. So they still haven't stopped. And yet the world's court is claiming that Israel is guilty of crimes against humanity. So it's okay to block a highway that's not moving anyway and start opening up with automatic fire. People trapped in their cars with their kids. Come on. Darn it. May have to quit. Maybe I've got something else coming up. I can't say I found anything entertaining anyway. I keep hearing a little bit of feedback from a few friends. So if anybody out there sees this either live or not live, throw something in the comments, hit the like. If you tickle the bell, I could use the subscribers. I'm still trying to keep my channel going. Um, I'm going over the weekend to see some of the past videos and see if they do need a drop of maybe a few scenes from a different podcast to illustrate what I'm speaking about. Um, I don't know. I'm going to try that maybe and see if I get some feedback on that and maybe a different time slot. I started to do a different time slot this morning, but then there's 5 million things that I don't get to if I don't just ramble it and get this in. And then, free for this afternoon because it's Saturday. Had the whole VA thing yesterday. Went like a charm, no, went like a charm. I gotta give him that. I was back out home in an hour, so I can't fuss at that. It used to take me 6 hours just to drive there and back when I was below Macon. So living here has been very beneficial because the VA is here for me. And I don't have to drive, half a day to get there. And believe me, that was awful because you leave early in the morning, you wouldn't get back till dark, you know. And I have always had animals, so it always upset me if I was gone that long because usually Robert was at work. And like I said, at least he's staying home today. I was glad to hear that. I figured he's going to go out and do something. He's you saw the RV he bought. That was really cool. He's redoing the a little bit inside he's been doing, and it didn't have a lot of damage, but just some of it was outdated. Beautiful marble that's been installed in there now. Just little things like that. And somebody had ripped the door off of it when it was there for sale. They'd ripped the door off. I mean, I don't know how they did that, but they ripped the door off. So, I mean, you can still get in, but you can't get in through the door, which would have the stuff. So he's gotten that door off and he's building a new door. So just stuff like that. I mean, he doesn't stay, he's always busy. and half the time he's making me some breakfast or something because I'm good with my oatmeal. He doesn't understand that. He calls it girl and has a fit. But I was raised with oatmeal in the winter. In the summer, you'd have toast and an egg, or maybe just toast, depending on what you wanted, with some jelly. You didn't eat big time when I was growing up. You were lucky if you had butter. And that's because you churned it yourself. I mean, I'm serious to God. Snap peas, all that stuff were grown in our gardens, and tomatoes and potatoes and onions and peppers. And I mean, it was all grown in our own garden. And then you were sitting there watching your friends go by because they were buying theirs. It was bird's eye back in the day. And we had one store. I'll never forget seeing that the first mall opened, the high school went nuts, the smallest opened. And I was like, I gotta go to the mall. I gotta go to the mall. So I ditched school for the first time ever. I ditched my elective classes, not school itself, but like the afternoon. I get home and my sister-in-law Peggy, married to my brother, is sitting there and she's just laughing. And there's mom, and mom's looking at her all stern. Like my mother didn't do stern very well. Very sweet woman, very very sweet woman. But we knew that we were in trouble because one of the girls, there was like 12 of us or something. One of the girls, we all wore ponchos back in the day. So we were all wearing our ponchos. It was very new then, very new. And unfortunately for us, one of the girls was stealing as she was going through stores. We didn't know this. They had like 5 stores, Monkey Ward's, Pennies. I can't remember the other one. It's just, it was a very small mall. They had a few stores. And it was one story. It's like our mini mall. Yeah, kind of like that. Anyway, she went through and stole, The girl took albums, for God's sake. I'm like, and we didn't see this. We didn't know she was doing it. And it's close enough. There she comes. And as we're getting ready to leave, now those of us who didn't even notice, we spent our money. We had saved up to go. And what little we could buy or want or did buy, nobody else stole. It just her. Well, I like her. I still like her. Anyway, so it's like, put your hands in the air. We're like, huh? No, you. Oh, me? Yeah. Hands in the air. We're like, what? So the hands go up because we're from a school that says hands in the air, hit the ground, do so. It'd be much better for you if you did. Those nightsticks hurt. So they didn't have tasers. So, your hands are up and you're like, and you're being marched through the store and you're like, you're holding your bag where you bought your stuff. But like, come here, we see what's going on. They wouldn't tell us. And then, of course, they take us into this place. And then we're told that we're being held for the police to come get us for theft. And we're like, huh? What? Huh? Um, you know, and they're, empty your bags and your receipts. And so, like, 11 of us had that. And the 12th one had like $90 worth of stuff stuffed in her everywhere. I mean, when she was just, oh my God. So we were kind of mad at her for a little while. So, of course, by the time I got home, they had called the parents. I had to put the parents' names and stuff down so they would let us go, is what they told us, because we hadn't known and we didn't do anything. But it was before cameras. They were just sitting up there watching. They had the big mirrors, I think, maybe then. And it was Barbara that did it. I forget it. I mean, seriously, we were talking to her for a little while. We were so mad because every one of us got home. We were in trouble. We didn't do that. The problem we got in trouble for wasn't for stealing. No, it was because we went to the mall and all of our parents said, don't do that. You can't go to the mall. I don't know why, but they said we couldn't do that. And of course, we went right on out and did that anyway. And so I'm like, okay, I'm busted. I mean, I see Peggy laughing. I know I'm in trouble. I know she done know because I knew they was going to call. And I'm like, it was just, and for one time, my sister was actually with me. Usually she was nowhere to be found. So I got in trouble for teaching her that it's okay to hang out with people who steal. And, like we did not know. Well, what would you have done if you did know? We'd have left. Every one of us did the same thing. The security guard asked us to. We'd have left your ass there. And mother is trying, of course, to look very stern, you know. And I'm like, I'm guilty of going to the mall. I did not ditch really any classes. These were elective classes, Mom. I just didn't go to swimming and I didn't go to fencing. But I went to school. And so she looks at Sandy and Sandy says, no, I cut the whole day. I'm like, oh my God. Yeah. So the phone starts ringing about that time. And Peggy's dying laughing. But at this point, she can't, she's holding her side. She can't stop laughing. And before she couldn't answer the phone. She couldn't stop giggling. So mother answered the phone. And I got a, uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh. Yes, I'm taking care of that. Who is this and what is your number? And I will get back to you. Oh, don't you know? When she turned around, then she had a thundercloud. Mother never really looked angry. And only one other time had I seen her look angry, and that was when the principal had struck me. And I wasn't guilty of anything anyway, but it was like, touch my daughter again, I'll see you in hell. And so, well, only time I ever saw I got mad. And swear she didn't do that either. Um, so I was like, oh my God, what's going on here? And the phone rang again. She said, I'll get that one in just a minute. Girls, we're not going to speak about this again, right? We're not going to tell your father, right? But if you do it again, I will be doling out the punishment. And you won't have a free day until 1978. This was like 72. We were still kids. 72 or 3. I think it was in 8th grade, so probably around 73. And then of course Peggy falls out the chair just dying. She just can't, she's got tears rolling down her face. She thought this was incredibly funny. Because we were scared of walking home the whole way. We were scared. No, nobody gave us a ride. We walked and we walked back. It was like 5 miles. Um, and so that we're like, okay, so now what, Mom? Go to your rooms, do your homework, come back down for dinner at 6. Won't be talked about again unless you get stupid. Never had to have that conversation again. And I to this day don't know how long Peggy laughed. But when Chuck got home from work, they were both still dying laughing. So I never again went to that mall. For one, I was so embarrassed that I had, had to be marched through this place, through the store, and then out through the, for like 5 minutes for a walk with our arms out. I was so embarrassed about that, even though I was not guilty. You're not going to be able to tell those 1,500 people that watched you walking down, the aisle with your arms up that you didn't do nothing. They may never come back. So you're just like, screw that. I don't want nothing. So I never went back to that mall. In fact, I think it was like a decade or more. And then I went, no, it was probably longer than that. It might have been 20 years before I walked into a mall. Then they were closer to what we have today, which would have been in DC. Then I went to a mall. Because I always went to the PX. In Germany, I went to a few places, but for one, the prices were astonishingly high. And two, I could make that much selling a pair of jeans or whatever. They loved our jeans. I have no idea why, but they did. Um, and so, yeah, that taught me a lesson. Don't ever go with your friends anywhere. Only a few times did I go. I went to the Louvre with a couple of friends that were good friends of mine. That was fine. I went to Rome with a few friends of mine. Had a layover for a few days in New York, friends of mine. Just so we didn't go very far. I mean, we would run over and see Italy or whatever. Everything's connected by train and ferry over there. It's great. I loved it. I love the double decker buses in England. Those things are so awesome. Of course, here they would probably be stuck underneath a tunnel somewhere. I was yelling yesterday about kids not having seatbelts on and watching. We were coming back from the VA and watching this bus just, barrel down a 40-mile-an-hour roadway at 90 and pouring rain. And we're like, but he said, well, they do have seatbelts now. I'm like, oh, I feel better. But they do have seatbelts. I used to walk to school in 5 feet of snow because I didn't want to get in the bus and go sideways 5 or 6 times before we could get there. There were no seatbelts. You're just flying around this thing. And when they turned over, I'd be doing all right. Broke both ankles. That was a fun day. So, yeah, like I grew up in that world. So it tends to make you a little tougher, too. So come up here, talk to me, throw something in the comments. At the very least, guys, prove my family wrong. Apparently, some of them think this will never be a well known podcast because I'm not Joe Rogan. I'm prettier than Joe Rogan, even if I'm older. But my time in the can is coming up. So, as y'all know, the routine, throw something in the comments. If you don't want to like or dislike, don't. If you don't want to subscribe, you can. It's free. You can get it off in 20 seconds. I really do need the likes, guys. So even if you don't watch all of it, at least hit the like button. You can do that on your remote control for the TV. You can do it, of course, online. You can do it on your phone, as I've learned. I'm checking this out as I go. So I didn't say I was any good at it yet. I just said, give me a hand. I know there's some more female soldiers out there. At the very least, girls boogie up. I knocked that door down, broke a knee, did all kinds of stuff. Help out a veteran. In the meantime, I have to go and get busy because it's cold and wet and I can't go outside and hide. Which means absolutely Robert will be cooking breakfast. But you got to give a guy credit. At least he's willing to cook every once in a while. And it's a trade off. I'm going to do all the cleanup because he does the cooking. Not all of it, but he doesn't much care for what I make. And there's certain things he can't eat because of the cancer that he made on his throat. So I guess I'll have to go somewhere else to be entertaining. Because as we all know, this is for entertainment purposes only, and I'm going to be here still all week. So, hey, freak me out, throw some likes in there. I will even come on so you can see my reaction as I find them. But for now, I will stop lecturing you. I would like to hear somebody else, of course, honestly. Or I'm going to have to start dropping the videos, I guess. I was hoping that, again, it would be a social Woodstock, that everybody could get up here and say what they wanted, and no fear of reprisal from the jackbooted Nazis they call, well, I don't know, the IRS, the FBI, the CIA. If it's got 3 digits for a thing, yeah, you just don't want to mess with them. I didn't want to in the 80s, and I worked there, so actually had a little power. So, I mean, if I don't want to now, it can't be good out there. Of course, we all know that. I keep wanting to say news, but to me, there's no news. They're political channels. To me, news is streaming from Israel, from Germany, um, and the BBC I trust as well. Not always. So there's a few, if you look for them, especially if you're checking them and you use YouTube, you can find several of the channels on YouTube that tell the news. Hey, there's a fire going on over there. Hey, that volcano went off. You're not going to hear that on CNN. Just not. Although I did hear them say a few words about the fact that the north is being pounded again by a severe storm. I'm surprised, but the Weather Channel covered it a couple days ago. So just cracks me. You cannot make this stuff up, I swear. In the meantime, I keep saying bye, so that's the southern part that's worn off. So, toodles.